Hello, everyone. I didn't choose this title actually because I wanted to put you back into this room and draw your attention. It was actually the title to my master thesis, and mind you, Maastricht University approved it, so I'm officially allowed to use these words. But I also chose this because great ideas are very often the opening to transformations, big transformations of our time. And the thing about great ideas is they are not always great ideas. They are very often very crazy ideas, very like ideas that no one really cares about. I mean, I saw some arms up here with about the first cultivated meat conference here 8 years ago, and these people were crazy. That is a joke of Rolf. Here, this first slide. It is crazy ideas that at a certain point become great. So Willem van Eelen, who is today called the godfather of cultivated meat, I only heard last week that he was actually being called crazy and being ridiculed for his ideas. And today we are all here in this room and think, oh, such a great idea. I want to talk about another crazy idea that is hopefully going to be a fucking great one, because it is, and that's making cultivated meat on farms. And I brought 3 reasons why this is a great idea, because farmers should produce, they could, and they would want to produce. So this is what it's going to be about. So let's get right into this. They should, if we go from exclusive to inclusive. And this is why. So yesterday it was already mentioned, cultivated meat is not just a technological question and challenge, it's also a very political one. The PAF committee was mentioned, so in the end, 55% of the member states have to vote in favor, representing 65% of the population. I don't know whether here's the pointer. Italy, sorry to Italy, I excluded them for now, assuming they might not be in favor. They're a big country, so it would be a pity. But if we have all the other big countries together here, then we would end up at 64%. And if we then add a few more countries to get to the 55% of the member states, then we would actually gonna make it. But mind you, if we then also not have Germany, for example, and if you think about it, every 5th European is a German. I myself am also German, so quite important. But if you don't have Germany, or similar to France, you need at least 10 other countries being in favor. And mind you, that is actually quite a lot if we now think about how many member states there are in the European Union. Why is this important for agriculture? I looked at the biggest livestock producers, and those countries that are biggest in population and have the biggest way, kind of, for the votes are also the biggest livestock producers. So Germany, France, Spain, and Poland together account for 60% of the livestock production in the main categories. Germany is the biggest pig producer. We have 50% of the surface area dedicated to agriculture. In France, it's similar. So more surface area is dedicated to agriculture than in any other country. So why on earth would these countries be in favor if there's nothing in it for them for agriculture? So the next is this, because this is how we currently set it up. So that's the chain. We have farms, we have manufacturers, distributors, we have the end user. And I want to focus now on the first two parts of the chain that are most relevant, so the farms and the manufacturers. And the question is really, what are we actually replacing? So many of you raised their hands when Isha asked, okay, who actually wants to get the animal out of the equation? And the question is really, are we still replacing the animal, or are we already towards replacing farms? So the meat demand by 2040 is going to be 500, and the number is crazy, 500 billion kilograms of meat, so 500 million tons. One production facility, industrial scale for cultivated meat by Garrison et al. Is supposed to create 540 tons of cultivated meat. And if we now take the A.T. Kearney number of 35% of market share, then we would have to create 175,000 facilities, so 1,000 more or less per country. And mind you, in that publication, it's going to be 60 million of investment needed. And you have to multiply that by the number of facilities. So, and here we would actually replace farms, also animals, but also the farms. And it becomes more apparent when we also look at the manufacturers that we have the potential to miss out on a lot, because, so I took here the example of beef. These are the biggest beef producers in the world. JBS is already going into the field. There's Tyson, there are others. And some of us might have the opportunity to get a contract with them, to produce with them cultivated meat. But the question is really, aren't we missing out on other scales of cultivated meat production? So this is the market share. And this part is not the big production. It's this. So small to mid-scale producers, this is the long ponytail of mid-scale production that we could potentially miss out if we're only going for large scale. So what I would suggest as an industry, that we're not only focusing on industrial scale, but also on small to mid-scale and everything in between. So this is what we are doing. We are paving the way towards an additional route to production. And that leads me to the second reason why cultivated meat will be coming from farms. And that's because they could produce. So if you look at the production of farmers, it's 180 tons per year. And if you, so that's the average. That's all German data, but it's similar to France, to the Netherlands, so more or less here in Europe. So it's 180 tons of production capacity. And if you take three farms together, you're already at the 540 tons of industrial scale production. And on top of that, farmers have 640,000 square meters of land available. And there's only a fraction needed for actual production, for an actual production facility. And everything else can be used for renewables. It can be used to grow crops and other stuff, to diversify farmers' business model. Then a lot of people have asked on the investments. So 21% of costs of farmers on the balance sheet every year are going into investments. And we've seen from our data from our consortium partner, Rabobank, that you probably all know, so the agricultural bank in the Netherlands, that most of it is going into future technologies, into the barn, and into equipment. And then there's also the capacity for farmers with 1.2, we think 1.2 to 1.3 million euros of the farmer to invest in cultivated meat. Something interesting is also that farmers actually have a salary of 45K a year. So it's quite flexible because farmers are entrepreneurs. So in some years there's really the salary of 30K, and in some years it's 80K, 90K, so it's variable. And I will come to that in a bit. And we think we can scale this out with a lot of farmers. So there are 9 million livestock farmers, and this is only Europe. So there's a huge potential to scale out with a lot of farmers. And if we are not going to do it, then we actually are missing out on huge potential, because we are the small ones here. There's such a big world out there. We're not the ones ruling the world. Something interesting I want to show you is really the labor. During this whole conference, I haven't seen anyone talk about labor. So there's media, the media composition and optimization, or cell growth, cell density that we all talked about. But labor is also a big thing. So I saw in this one publication, Garrison et al., that it's 28% in labor. And this is a cost breakdown of pork in this case. So €7.75 per kilogram is what it costs in the supermarket. And most of it, as you can see, is going to the supermarket and the slaughterhouse. And only €1.50 is going to the farmer. And we actually know that 50% of that is going into feed. And so we compared the average, so assuming that in an industrial facility, there's only one person working compared to a farmer, and farmers are working on their own. We think we can reduce the labor costs by 22% if we use farm labor instead of farmer labor. So a lot of you probably now think, okay, nice, Florentine, interesting, but farmers don't want to do this. But that is a myth. So we estimated that between 5 to 23% of farmers actually want to do this if we design it in a way that it is a profitable business model and accessible to farmers, which are numbers that we are currently still validating with the University of Fechter, which are, I think, also somewhere here in the crowd. But it's still, even if we don't have these numbers, it's not so far away. So this is how farms look today. It's a picture of Lely. Lely is the milking robot company from the Netherlands. They automate everything in farms from tea to bottle. And that's their picture, actually. So you can see here that, and that's also German data again, that 47% of the farms that are in diversified business models, they are in renewables, and we need energy for cultivated meat, so why not use that? 80% are already using digital technologies, so farmers are not from the Stone Age. 17% are in processing and direct merchandise. They're, of course, heavily supported by the government, and every second farmer is already in AI or planning to do so, or automation and robotization. And interestingly enough, here you see that at Lely, with the milking robots, the production is completely separated from the animal. So it doesn't happen in the same place. And the cow goes from towards the robot and wants to be milked, and everything else the robot does. And the farmer is the operator, and the supervisor, and everything that goes wrong is being done by Layli in the end. So yeah, this is how we see the future. A little bit like what Isha also said, democratizing cultivated meat production, making sure that there are different ways towards the market, and that we will have Heineken out there, a few big-scale production facilities, but then also the mid-scale, diverse production facilities like farms. If this is right up your alley, we invite you to come towards us. We are planning to build up a pilot farm in 2025, let's say, assuming that we get the funding for it. And these are the areas where you could take part. These are our current partners, so very diverse, again, from different parts of the value chain, because that's really where we see the value for the future. We see ourselves as a system integrator, so come to us and let's see how we can get this done. Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible with a great team of very crazy people. So thanks for that. And yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. We do have time for one quick question. And it's in the center there. Local.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. So I had maybe 2 questions or thoughts that occurred to me. So number 1, how do you envision training these people in this technology or whatever it is that you have in your mind? Number 2, have you discounted for the fact that some of these farms, shall we say, still need to run for people who do eat meat? Because I don't see how we can just completely replace the entire ecosystem like that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, first of all, I think for the latter question, it's really about so nowadays agriculture is really about diversifying your business model. So from history, we've seen that only going into pig production doesn't work anymore because of the risk. So we think with our model, you can de-risk production, and it's not going to be for every farmer, but that's also not the goal. I think we should see ourselves as an industry within agriculture and not trying to replace 100%. So that's really how I see it. And for the first question about the training, that's a good one. My question would be actually, why do you think there's a difference between the training for an operator and the training for a farmer? So we envision an automated system where, and I showed it in the Layli example, it's about creating a process around cultivated meat. The farmer is not gonna select the cells and then put it into the seed train and then again into the bioreactor. We really have to think about how are we gonna create a process. In conventional agriculture, everything is automated, and that's really how it's going to be, or how it should be, how I envision this is going to work. And then yes, I guess you still need training, but you don't need to understand all the details of the bioprocess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.